yo. What's going on, everybody? We are live and we have a very special guest this afternoon. Jake Something. What's up, buddy? How you doing?
Sure.
Good. How are you?
I'm doing awesome. Thank you so much for taking the time out of your busy day to join us. We are delighted to have you. We are delighted to be a part of Impact TNA Wrestling. We love what's going on there. I'm gonna get straight to the point here because I need to know. I'm currently working out, but I don't see the gains quite like you have.
Yeah.
What does a guy like you eat for breakfast to maintain a physique like that? And how many meals a day are you eating currently?
I don't know the exact number of meals, but I eat mostly just all day. Right now, I'm trying to sit around 275 grams of protein every day. So, yeah, however many it takes to get there, I guess.
I've noticed a significant difference between like 2021 and nowadays with your physique. You really kind of sculpted it up from, you were big before, but now you're big and kind of sculpted.
Yeah, no, that was the thing too. Honestly, I just stopped eating fast food every day. That's I didn't do anything too crazy. I don't really count macros even right now. Like I said, I have like a target protein I want to hit, but it's not like I meticulously write down every fat or anything too. I have a ballpark idea of what I want to hit right now, but before I accidentally weighed 270 just because I like to eat a lot, and then I narrowed down, hey, maybe I shouldn't have Taco Bell every day, and that's why I look like this now.
Taco Bell's a good one for sure.
Yeah.
So Saturday, December 9th, you have Final Resolution in Toronto. You'll be facing Jason Hotch. He's diving into the singles world from tag team, trying to make a name of himself at your expense. How do you plan on making sure that doesn't go the way he plans on it going?
Yeah, you know what? I'm not gonna lie to you. I am excited about this match just because Jason's a bright up and comer. However, I am going to absolutely smash his head in. But he's he's from the same territory that I'm from, a little Michigan kid, right? So it's cool to have a match against maybe the next Jake Something. Who knows?
Speaking of Michigan, your first TNA Impact run, what brought you from Michigan to Orlando, Florida? Tell us a little of that story of how you ended up at Impact.
Well, one of my buddies actually was booked for the Impact in Orlando. His name is Idris Abraham. He doesn't really wrestle that much anymore, but he was signed briefly with the company. He's a student of Scott D'Amore. And basically I had just been in Scott's orbit enough and like showing up to like the school and things like that, where there was an opening in the car to drive there, and I was allowed to jump in the car if I wanted to. And obviously I wanted to. So I just jumped in, and it was like a 17-hour drive, and I was just hoping they'd let me do something, and they did. And then that got me to come back. And then I just drove down there a few times, hoping I'd get the chance, and it worked out.
So they signed you for a contract after a couple of times of you appearing?
Oh man, I wish. No, it took like a year or two, maybe two. I can't remember exactly how long, but the very first time that I went down there, and that's when like I had enough people that knew who I was there that like would vouch for me. But I did like a squash match with Bobby Lashley, and he loved it. So then he started like carrying me from one person to another, being like, hey, sign this guy. And that got me to come back. And then my performance got me to come back again, and then come back again. And then maybe, like I said, a year and a half of that. And then they started teaming me up with Cody a couple times. And then we finally got signed. It was a long road to get there. Yeah.
I remember seeing that match with Bobby Lashley back, I was thinking it was like 2017, and it was really like two monsters in the ring. You know,
Yeah.
You're labeled at 6'2", 262, 270. You're a big guy. In the ring, when you wrestle at 250 and up, you're probably usually the biggest guy in the ring. What's it like when you face guys that are bigger than you? How do you change your game plan to capitalize on that?
So for the most part, I honestly try to have the same game plan for everybody, right? But there's going to be like those guys that you don't really realize how big they are until like you're in there. Even Bobby Lashley, I'll say, like I have always been aware that he's a giant human being, but I literally had him in a waist lock, and I swear to you, it felt like it was a tree. It was just the hardest thing I've ever felt in my life. But then you get in there with a dude like say like Bronson Reed, who is just like to pick somebody of that size, and he's so strong. So to pick somebody like that up is just such a mental feat in itself, right? So I train the same for everybody. I prepare the same for everybody, but there's almost like mental hurdles you'll have to do for like somebody of that size, right? It's more of like you got to hype yourself up. Just like if I'm in the gym and I got to hype myself up for a big lift, those are some big lifts.
Yeah, I think about the locker room right now with like Moose. I mean, someone like that, you're normally the biggest guy in the ring, but when you get next to Moose, you still might be bigger than him, but you're both two monsters in the ring. I mean,
right, you're right. That's the thing. If you want to go to Moose, like that's a whole other animal too.
Because he's agile too, right?
Because I'm pretty confident if I'm in the ring, I might be the biggest one in the ring, but you know what? I'll probably be the most agile, or secretly I might be the fastest one in the ring. But then you get in there with Moose, I'm like, okay, you know what? I'm not bigger than that guy. I don't think I'm more agile than that guy. What do I got to do to take this guy down? So
he's a special character for sure.
He is.
I mean, even Bobby Lashley, I hear stories of people like he's hard. He's a hard guy to work with because of his size.
Right.
It's just a tough, when you're big like that. But Jake something is widely known in Impact and abroad as Jake something. What does the something mean to the Jake? What exactly does something? Because I've seen you've had a few different names throughout your career, and it's always majority of them are Jake.
Yep.
Ending, second name something. What does the something exactly mean right now in Impact?
And that was by far the most asked question. I asked everyone, like, do you have any questions for Jake something? Everyone's like, what is something?
Yeah. So, I mean, even like real actual origins of like how it started happening. And I can't even remember which thing happened first. So there's a lot of reasons that go into it. But one of the first reasons that I remember of why I started calling myself Jake something is exactly as you pointed out. You've heard my name be Jake this or Jake that. So at the beginning of my career, I'd say the first few years at least, it was almost every show I went to would just kind of give me a new name. But, I'd always have Jake on there, right? I mean, every show, I've been called everything. One place was calling me Jake Von Erich because I was muscular and had long hair, I guess. So I was a Von Erich that day. I've been called Jake Shooter, Jake Chambers, Jake Strong because I'm strong. They're just like, it was just almost every show was like a
cliche
thing. Yeah. But then, honestly, when I was thinking of like word shopping names and stuff, and like I fell on Jake something, and I was like, you know what? I know that initially when you hear that, it's like, man, what the hell? But I was like, I like the way that sounds. It just sounds cool. Like when I think of like a band, I can think of a lot of band names that just sound cool. But when you think about it, I'm like, what the hell does that mean? Like that doesn't mean anything. I love a band called Korn, spelled with a K. What? So when I was working with the name something, I was like, okay, I like the way that just sounds, right? And then I developed this whole story and thing behind it, and the very bare bones of it is just, you got to like find yourself, right? So you have to tear everything down to work from the ground up. Literally go from nothing to something is basically the premise of it. So you got to detach yourself from your family name, because that's something to lean on, right? But if you go to nothing, you got nothing to lean on. You find out who you are and, build some strength and character that way.
It's way deeper than I thought it was.
Yeah. And everyone always says like, oh, why don't you call yourself like Jake the Bruiser or Jake the this or whatever, blah, blah, blah. And for me, where I'm from, if you have to give yourself a tough sounding nickname or a tough moniker, you're probably not that tough to begin with. So I could take the most meaningless word in the English language and make it mean way more than a cool, tough moniker.
Now you've been wrestling for many years now. You've traveled the world, been in many different locker rooms. What's the locker room like in Impact /TNA wrestling like?
Yeah, I mean, this might sound corny or generic, but I really think pretty much everyone you ask that works there will say the same thing. But it sincerely feels like a family, right? Because whenever there's a holiday, a lot of families when you get together, I don't know, just it's like natural, right? Everyone's just sitting down, chilling, watching TV together, just talking the talk, just running your mouth, having fun, and that's how it is. Like whenever, whenever we have those weekends of shows, right? It's just when there's wrestling on the monitors, we're all sitting down watching it together. It's every room you go in, it's just a bunch of us. It's no one's like secluded or anything, so it feels good. You know,
And
you
it probably
trust
felt
it.
that.
Like I could leave my wallet on a table and leave the room and not have to worry about what's going to happen to it.
And it probably felt a similar way back in 2017. It's kind of always had that, because I actually did my internship there in 2004 at TNA in Orlando. And it also had that same kind of feel. It's always been different than the average kind of locker room, which I always loved about that.
You know what I will say? When those first few times I was going down, it didn't feel like that to me. There was a different cast of characters there. There was still some of the core dudes that I'm like, okay, this feels good, right?
Mm-hmm.
But there was a handful of people there, without saying any names, I was just like, ooh, I don't like that vibe, or I don't like how they're acting. But
yeah,
they're not there now, so it's good.
You were a younger swashbuckler back then as well.
I was a little younger.
Go ahead, Jay.
I was just gonna say, bringing it back to this weekend, it almost seems like a battle of rising stars, right? We've been hearing your name a lot as, hey, Jake something. 2024 is his year.
Yeah.
He's a big up and coming wrestler. We want to see big things out of Jake something. You kind of have like a no quit attitude about you, day in and day out. When you look back at your matches and your wins and your losses, and I always say, failing is when you quit.
Yeah.
What kind of motivation do you use, week in and week out to keep yourself mentally up there when it comes to, hey, I'm not going to quit. I'm not going to give up. I'm going to capture gold and impact. Mm-hmm. What motivates you? What drives that?
Man, I'm sure there's a lot of eternal things I could never even put into words, but even just as soon as you're asking me that, the first thing that just jumps out of my head is like, I'm the only one that's going to make it happen for me. So if I have a day where I am not feeling like it or I'm not motivated, that's all I got to think about. It's like, okay, well, if I don't do it, then it's not going to get done. And I don't want 10 years to go by or 20 years to go by or 30 years to go by and been like, man, I wish I would have, I wish I would have done this, or I wish I would have done that. So like the days like today, right now, I'm sitting in my bed comfy and cozy, right? I would love to just sit here all day, but I know that I have things to get done. So that's kind of my motivation. It's my motivation with training. It's my motivation just career in life, my matches, everything. It's like I'm the only one that can do it for me. And at the end of the day, I'm the only one that I'll really truly be able to rely on to take me to whatever the next level I want to be is. So I just got to do it.
Speaking of training, I mean, you're obviously incredible physique and in really great shape. I mean, are you hitting the gym every single day? How many days a week are you hitting the gym?
Yeah, no, I do go every day. And I know that pretty much everyone says you should take days off, which you probably should. I don't want to. I lose my mind a little bit if I try.
You're happy.
I've had days where I was like, okay, I'm just going to chill today. And then it's just like, oh, I start itching. I start, pacing a little bit. I have to. So.
Love it. TNA's come right around the corner. Impact's about to become TNA, starting in January. There's a buzz going around about it. It's very exciting that they're going to go back to the roots. Yeah. For you, them becoming Impact becoming TNA, does this change you? Does this put you at another level to notch it up to want to become kind of TNA total nonstop action? I know you already kind of have that attitude, but yeah, are you going to kick it into high gear because of this?
It's funny, and it might sound as simple as a name change, but like, we all already had that fire lit under us. But I don't know, as soon as I heard it, as soon as I saw my first promo pictures that said TNA on it, I was like, yeah, like almost reinvigorated. But I was already I don't know. It's like it's an extra layer. I got really excited, and I think that it is like a next level type thing, where it's like, okay, now I really got to show out.
Absolutely. A lot of eyes are going to be on TNA Impact in January to see, what the buzz is about. It reminds me of kind of back in the day when they switched from 6 sides to 4 sides, and they were like, what's it going to be like? It's the same kind of thing. I know, even though we got to interview Alex Shelley and a couple other people, I don't believe the 6 sides ring's coming back, but that question keeps getting asked. Are they going to bring back the 6-sided ring? How do you feel about that?
And, I get the allure because when I was a kid and I first saw it, that's one of the things that I, caught my eye. I'm like, what the hell is this? I've never seen this before. But having been watching wrestling as long as I've been watching it, I can safely say it doesn't add anything to it, right? It's just visually when you first see it, you're like, oh, wow. Yeah. But I can say with 100% certainty that those rings absolutely suck to wrestle in. So if I never have to wrestle in another one, it would be too soon.
Luckily, you're usually the one throwing them around and not getting thrown around. So.
Yeah, but it's more than just that. Like, because that part, it always hurts. Everything always hurts. So that's like whatever. But it's awkward. It's throws off certain dynamics. Hitting the ropes, secretly, people don't realize that hitting the ropes is one of the most painful things. So when you first start training for wrestling, you just have these like blood blisters all over your back from hitting them. Some people don't realize that hurts, but it does. Hitting the ropes by itself hurts. Those ones are tighter because they're like shorter, right? There's more turnbuckles, so hitting those hurts even more. So it's like and it's nagging and it's annoying. It feels bad.
Yeah, visually it looked good, but overall, I agree with you. It didn't look good. All right, we're right at 18 minutes. I want to thank you so much for taking the time out of your day to interview. Where can everyone find you on social media, Jake Something?
At Jake Something _, I think is what I have for everything.
At Jake Something _. Good luck December 9th against Jason. I know you got a tough match. We'll be watching and we'll be rooting for you. You got 2 new fans and I'm sure hundreds more from this interview. So thank you so much.
Thanks, guys.
Everyone, thank you for joining us. We are Niko Knows Best. Have a great day.